So our next session that will start at 11:10 is called It's Not About OER is Choice. And our presenter is Michael Daly from Fulton Montgomery Community College. Michael is an assistant professor and public services and instruction librarian at Fulton Montgomery Community College's Evans Library. In that role, he oversees and teaches the majority of classes in the information literacy program and serves as a liaison to the health professions, humanities, and social science divisions, as well as he's the coordinator for Fulton Montgomery's OER efforts. In 1718, he's also serving as their mentor, is the mentor for the SUNY OER services, and he's been working with multiple SUNY institutions and faculty to adopt OER as the means of decreasing the cost of attending college, increasing access to learning materials, and furthering completion rates. And with that, just on time, we'll turn things over to Mike.
All right, hopefully you can all see my screen, and thanks to SUNYLA and all the folks who put together the Midwinter Conference. Before we get started, on the lower left of the first slide, you'll see a link to this presentation. It's entirely open for you to use. All the links to the images that I'm going to use, which are mostly from Unsplash, are available there. In a couple instances, stuff won't be openly available, but that'll be indicated in the notes as well. All that said, since I've given you the link, it also means that you can just copy that link, disappear from this session, and pretend you attended it. So before we get started, a quick explanation about the title. I think OER can quickly become a lot of things. It can be the next new EdTech unicorn. It can be the next greatest thing for librarians and students. But at its core, my belief is it really allows choices, new choices for faculty. It provides some new choices for students who maybe have some pressures that we are aware or unaware of, mostly financial, maybe access issues. And I think, as Fredonia, the great presentation that kind of kicked off this conference, hinted at, it provides some new choices for librarians, especially some librarians within SUNY. I know we have a large contingent of attendees at this conference. I am going to provide kind of a large view of SUNY and zero in on my own institution, but I hope that there's some takeaways no matter where you are located, because I think there's some commonalities in what we're doing and what maybe is possible for you. So this is a map of New York State and all of the beautiful 64 SUNY locations across the state. As you can see, we're pretty well geographically dispersed, which means we have the potential, I think, as SUNY librarians to reach a lot of people really quickly if we can maximize our efforts within OER in a way that we're not doing 64 different things, but we're doing 64 unique things that all kind of draw on the same strengths. My institution is obviously part of SUNY. We're located kind of outside of Amsterdam, New York. And I wanted to give this glance at FM because I was listening to the two previous presentations to really kind of stress the team approach. I don't have the luxury of a team at my institution. We're small. We don't have any instructional designers. We don't have any instructional technologists. We don't have a teaching and learning center. We have 3 librarians, one of whom is the director, and we have a small number of full-time teaching faculty. So the idea of the team is my dream, but for my institution and my profile, it really just wasn't the case at the beginning. I think we've kind of developed an ad hoc team along the way, but we couldn't start off with a team. We do have some pretty good success rates at FM. Our graduation is 34%, which is kind of highest in the capital region of the other 3 community colleges, and probably 12 or 11 ticks above the national average. So we're a pretty successful community college institution in terms of meeting the goal of graduation for whose students that is the goal. But we also struggle. We have some pretty high poverty rates in the 2 counties that we serve, and that's usually how people maybe start thinking about OER is that textbooks are expensive. And how I got into thinking about OER was hearing over and over in my early years here at FM, faculty lamenting the fact that students didn't have textbooks in the classroom. And I think that directly lies in the poverty rates of the county. So I had some time over the weekend, so I scoured all the SUNY websites that had their mission statement of their libraries. And this is the blown up mashup word cloud of what those mission statements say. And it's a blend of what I think is really the diversity and the uniqueness of SUNY, and also some of the commonalities. We all do a lot of the same things really, really well, and we do them in ways that stress kind of the strengths of our institution and serves the local populations that we have. But what I think is interesting is if we take that Hewlett definition of open education and resources, those teaching, learning, and research resources that reside in the public domain or have been released under an intellectual property license that permits repurposing by others, right? And we set that next to all those mission statements, all those words in the mission statements of all the SUNY libraries, right? And what really jumps out, right, is these teaching resources, right? This is focused on research. I think Verdoni was talking in the first session about, OERs being an opportunity for librarians to go back into being research and reference librarians. Really pop out this idea that learning is central to our core, right? And then I zeroed in on a couple others that OER provides access and creation to things that I think are really important when we start thinking about OER. How are we working to provide access, and how are we creating not only a new mindset on our campus, new workflows, new pathways for faculty who choose to use OER, and maybe eventually even down the road, faculty who want to publish or create their own OER material. No surprise to you that I think this conference is well timed. There's a national trend, a national conversation of librarians kind of becoming that center of gravity for OER efforts on campuses across the country. And there's this great quote from a SUNY faculty member who was at an event a couple of weeks ago. I never knew how much a librarian did until I got involved in OER. And what I think Stephen Bell in the last presentation for Verdoni mentioned, and what I'm going to harp on as well, is that OER really presents for librarians a new opportunity to maybe reconnect with faculty who, for whatever reason, haven't connected with the library in meaningful ways in a couple semesters, in a couple of years, or even a couple decades. So I think no matter where we are, we're educators, we're librarians because we had some sort of passion, whether that passion was to help others because we cared about students, because we really liked learning ourselves, because we were really interested in research, because we saw scholarship as a nice way to demonstrate and share knowledge. So passion led us here. And so my challenge is, okay, how do we take passion, how we all got here, how we got to be librarians, and how do we tie that into open educational resources? And so I'm going to try to walk us through that pathway that we took. So not unlike most libraries, the Evans Library over the last 10 years really saw a downward trend in some of our traditional services. Our print circulation of books and other materials readily available on the shelves was going downhill. Our collection development efforts, as well intended as they were kind of mirroring that downward trend. We could collect as much as we want, but if the material wasn't being used because it's not tied to the assignments or the courses or the classes being taught on campus, it's just not really going to make much difference. And so we saw some downward trends in our information literacy instruction. While a solid program was really kind of flat, we had who we had. We were getting some ones and twos along the way of new faculty members kind of participating on us. And so what we really saw, it was time for us to take a new direction in our efforts and plant a new flag as the library as really a central core to the teaching and learning mission of the institution. So if passion took us here, the reality of where we were really told us where we had to go next. And so we started, it's 4 years ago now, almost 4 years ago now. We started with faculty in our shared governance model, and we put forward a resolution from the library that said that faculty's right and ability to choose to use OER was part and parcel in academic freedom. And so we brought that resolution to our academic senate, our faculty senate in November 2014 and got unanimous approval. And that really, put administration on notice that faculty were going to want to consider to use OER as a viable teaching tool in their courses. And administration wholeheartedly supported it, as they still do. It's their firm belief that that's part of being a faculty member's job, choosing material that's not only content appropriate, level appropriate, but vetted by the faculty member. We also had the opportunity right after that to participate in a SUNY small incentive program called IITG Grants, Innovative Teaching Technology Grants, which I'm going to explain in a little more depth. So the IITG grant that we participated in with, I think, 8 or 9 other SUNY institutions, set out to suggest that, is there a way that library services, right, could be leveraged to increase faculty participation in the use of OER? And so all these colleges, four-year colleges and community colleges that you see listed here within SUNY, our goal was to find a librarian who was interested in doing this, and we recharged ourselves with finding one faculty member on our campus that was interested in doing this. And to every single school, we were overwhelmed by the interest by faculty. I approached one faculty member, again, only have 51 faculty members, and I got an interest from 9 faculty members. And the story is true at Clinton. I know it's true at Bachport, at Geneseo, at Monroe, at Herkimer, at Tompkins Cortland Community College. So we really saw this concept of librarians and libraries as being the center of OER operations on a campus as a viable one. And I think it probably led to SUNY Geneseo, which was at that time housing this Open SUNY Textbook Project, to kind of shifting gears into what's now known as SUNY OER Services, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And on the screen, some of these schools have gone on to do great things. Monroe, Herkimer, Clinton, and Tompkins Cortland participated in the Achieving the Dream grant, where they're developing totally OER degree programs. The growth of OER at my school has been incredible. I know UB and Buff State are also doing fantastic things to leverage OER and librarians. And so the results from that fall innovative instruction project, where we leveraged a librarian kind of being that guided hand with a faculty member one-on-one, were pretty interesting for us. We had 4 instructors, 3 courses, 185 students. But the big thing we saw was that for our students, they wanted access. They wanted access in print, and they wanted access digitally to OER materials. And that was our biggest takeaway, that OER could do that, right? And it was meeting the express need of the students. Well, we also saw some barriers. The biggest faculty barriers at my institution were time. It takes a lot of time to not only have the conversations that Stephen Bell was talking about. It takes a lot of time for faculty to sit and think about, do they want to dedicate even more time to redesigning a course that uses open materials? My faculty at community colleges, their biggest responsibility is teaching, and they teach a lot. All right, and to chunk out even more time to think about teaching in a new way is a big ask. My faculty also require technical support. Again, we don't have a teaching and learning center. We don't have instructional designers. So if I said to them, hey, we're going to do this OER thing, and you need to do this, this, and this, whether it's integrating into our LMS, which is Blackboard, or supporting a hosted site that has the OER content in tandem, that was a barrier for them. And there's also some tightropes and tensions that I think in that listening that happens in these face-to-face conversations with faculty when you lift up the hood of kind of the day-to-day operations. One of the tensions they have is that their requests for course materials on our campus are due really early in a semester. So right now, I think next week, our course material requests by faculty are due for fall 18. And there's a whole lot of system reasons why. Usually it's bookstore ordering, vetting material, all sorts of reasons. And there's also some tensions within departments. We have some departments, not ubiquitous, but I know there are some departments that use a common text or a common syllabus. And so if you have one faculty member saying, I want to use OER, how does that tension negotiate between the 2 or 3 other faculty members that teach the same course when they're trying to address the same learning outcomes? And so really understanding these barriers for us as librarians led us to develop what we call our OER workflow, or our OER pathway for faculty who choose to use OER. And what this does is hopefully, and I think our results prove this out, it reduces the amount of time that faculty have to dedicate to doing some of that pre-search and research and vetting of sources. By joining with SUNY OER Services, they're an absolute fabulous support system for us. They provide all that technical integration that we just couldn't do locally. So for a small school, we did need to go out and ask for more assistance. And so SUNY OER Services provides that for us. And it also eases some tensions, our pathway, I think, of, okay, if I'm a faculty member at FM and I want to choose OER, how do I go about doing it? And so our pathway really develops what I think is some partnerships where faculty are with us, and we're with faculty throughout this process of finding, evaluating, choosing, requesting, and using OER materials, right? So at no time is the faculty member alone, and at no time, and this is really important, is the librarian member off or the librarian off doing their own thing with a faculty's OER material. So there's always an ongoing conversation and an ongoing recognition that this has to happen together. One of the biggest things we realized early on is we needed some sort of systematic way to sit down with faculty and say, hey, as you're reviewing this material, right? Here's some key things that you should be looking for. And so we found this open OER rubric from Georgia, which we adopted, openly licensed. The link is on the screen for if you want it. And it kind of splits the duties, and this is not the whole thing, I just did a couple screenshots, splits the duties between the responsible parties, right? So the explanation of the subject matter, as an example, nobody understands the subject matter for a particular course better than the faculty member, right? But when it comes to the utility, how does the actual OER work? That's really something where librarians can leverage their knowledge, right? In terms of whether it's openly licensed in the appropriate way. Does the software work? Can it be exported into the platform that we use with OER services? Right? Is there metadata available? Should there be metadata available? Accessibility is another area where librarians kind of tell faculty members, hey, we're going to work with you, or we're going to check with ADA compliance with our accessibility office and take that pressure off them. So this rubric, we usually always introduce when we're working with faculty members for the first time, those that are thinking about using OER for the first time. We do ask them to kind of walk through this. We can't force anybody to use it. We don't have that decree, nor would I want it. But what we do find is that faculty members refer to it often. They use it often. They might not complete it fully, but it's a nice guiding document for us and for them. So this, we're going to jump forward now and pretend that they've gone through our pathway and they're at the use point and they're using OER. So the library supports OER use. We work with SUNY OER services to make sure that the content through LTI ends up in Blackboard, which is our learning management system. So that's our default. Any faculty member that chooses to use OER, their students automatically get that content in Blackboard. Whether or not the faculty member is teaching a web-based or a blended class or not using Blackboard at all, the content resides there. And we took a step back and spoke with faculty members or administration. We saw that as the easiest and best way to make sure that that day one access was ubiquitous. There wasn't any questions about where students were going to go, where students might go. The easy answer is where's the OER is always, it's in Blackboard. We split those duties for faculty members who are capable and willing. They import basically a zip file into their own course. For those that aren't, the librarians do that, and it's very, very little time. So on the right side of the screen, you'll kind of see a screenshot of what that content looks like for a student. So it's nice. They stay within the system. And it provides them an area of access. But we also recognize that students want choices, right? They want those options of OER materials. So just a quick review of other ways we provide options through SUNY OER services. All faculty, their OER courses have a web presence. This is really nice. This is kind of the platform where faculty members can make edits. They can revise contents. They can remix content. They can hide certain modules. It's a nice option for students that use their cell phones and don't like looking at Blackboard on a phone. And if you've ever looked at Blackboard on a phone, you understand why. And if Blackboard's on this call, you should call me and we can talk. So it's another option for students. We also, in some cases, leverage SpringShare's LibGuides and put PDFs of the OER text for students to download and print off if they want to do that themselves. We've taken to packaging USBs in the library, and these are USBs that stack up every semester in our lost and found area, and we dump all PDFs of the OER materials on there and just give them back to students. And this is especially important for our students who, once they leave campus, don't have reliable internet access. We're a rural community college, and if you go 10 miles in either direction, your internet access is not guaranteed. We had been in the lower right using our old outdated iPads to put ebook versions in iBooks. And over the last 3 or 4 semesters, this use has gone really, really down to the point that we're probably not even going to do it anymore. And I think the use has gone down is because we've provided so many other options for access for students. But it was a really nice option at the beginning. All right. We also provide print options. We'll go back to the early lesson we learned from the IITG grant. We do provide print options. We run through Amazon Create Space. We create if it's not available in another vendor's shelf, we'll create a book version. And the one lying flat there that says Michael Young's on it is an Amazon created book version. We work very closely with faculty to create those documents. A lot of our faculty members use OpenStax materials, in which case students have the option to purchase it. We use at least one edition of a BC Campus text, their International Social Psychology text. And this semester, we were pleased to join with SUNY Press, who is working on the second round of a pilot program to produce OER textbooks. And if you're around later on today, I know Laura Murray and Allison Brown are going to talk about that in depth. Highly recommend if you're interested in a print pathway for OER. They've got some great ideas. Some takeaways from this print process. Students and faculty still want access and options. We see the print options when faculty require students to purchase a print OER text in the bookstore, students buy it. But students also purchase it when it's optional. All right, so faculty members say, hey, there's a print version. You can order it on demand in the bookstore. We find that our students, particularly those who are returning adult students, our data suggests that if they're over 30, they tend to opt into buying the optional print version of the OER. Right? And our second biggest takeaway is that the college bookstore can be your best friend. There's my bookstore buddy, Sandy Schwed. We're a Follett campus. She was an early conversation in our OER efforts. We did sit down with Follett and our campus bookstore and our provost and said, the library is going really heavy into OER. How are we going to work together? And they had some good questions. It's obviously a rework flow for them. It obviously brings up some really big questions for them about what they are and how they do it. But I can't say enough about the partnership that Follett, large company and small company on my campus has really been above and beyond in terms of providing students access to textbooks that are labeled OER. And I think at the core, it's kind of a partnership that maybe is overlooked. Librarians and bookstores have had attention, I think, historically. Although we have the same goal, which is access, our outcomes of it are a little different. We're motivated by different things. But I think if conversations are had and understood of what's happening, there can be some benefits that are reaped by both sides. And so through all this, you see a quick shot over the years. I think our pathway is showing its merit. We see growth not only in the terms of students each semester that are taking at least one course that uses OER. We also see growth in the number of sections. And most importantly, we see growth in the number of faculty that are choosing to use OER. Right? And we tested this last fall. Last fall, we said, as a library, we're going to stop actively advertising OER just to see if our message is permanent. Right? And this spring, we have 3 faculty who last fall, by knowing awareness conversations, knew that OER was a choice and that there was a pathway, decided to flip or switch some of their courses to OER. And so for us, that was really validating for 2 reasons. One, it said, hey, our pathway is solid and it works, and marketing might not be what we need to focus in on anymore. We might need to double down on our efforts with faculty in terms of maybe creating assessments for their courses, or revising material, or updating material, or working with students to create open material. But we're really pleased with our results. I'm going to show a quick video here of what I think is kind of the biggest pleasure in our results, and that's the impact of OER for students. And I'll throw the closed captions on in case the volume isn't very good. So last fall, we asked students at the end of a class randomly, we held up a sign and said, what does it mean to you when an instructor chooses to use OER? And I've edited the video down, and we're going to hear two of those students right now. And so to riff on the Lumen Learning and the David Wiley statement that education is sharing, I think we're also seeing that it's also caring. And when OER is crafted carefully, when it's supported through sound mechanisms, that caring comes through. And educators and librarians get to be a lot of things, but I think when students see us as people that care, that's a value that's tough to walk away from. And it's tough for anybody to say it's not worth thinking about OER. That said, we work really hard at telling our story as much as possible. We grab press space whenever we can. Librarians try to write some articles that explain to the general counties that we serve, the public that we serve, what OER is. Our courses are labeled in our course designated system as OER courses, so we work really hard with our academic advisors to make sure that they know what OER is. And all the while that we're doing this, we're stressing the relationship that we have with teaching faculty. We're stressing how OER can positively impact a student's experience in terms of accessing learning materials, and that collaborations are really, really essential to this process. So within the library, we really saw OER as a way out. We've seen information literacy requests from previously unengaged faculty who have chosen to use OER. They now participate in our information literacy requests because we can build that into the conversation. And I should say we don't offer any incentives for our faculty. Our administration doesn't believe in that. They believe in its faculty's part of their job is to choose course materials, and they don't want to incentivize OER and not incentivize any other type of material. So faculty aren't paid to develop or redesign OER courses. And for us as librarians, it's about getting out. And we do see getting out and having conversations and working with faculty in different ways as being really, really positive. I don't have a roadmap for you. I can't give you directions to OER Nirvana. I can tell you that if you get out there, that if you have conversations with stakeholders, if you develop a team, if that's the model you're going to want to go, you're going to go in some directions you didn't expect that you were going to go, right? And you might have to turn around, and you might have to pull over. And I think that's part of the fun. I think that's part of the experience. But I think we're all going to get better at it as we do more and more sharing in events like this. OER has also found some new directions for library services. We'll circle back because it's the SUNYLA conference. What we found is that OER isn't always the answer. It's a great answer for some courses, and for other courses, traditional library materials are making faculty aware of traditional library materials has been really beneficial for us. We have 2 streaming services, Canopy and Films on Demand. Sometimes there just isn't good open visual moving content. And we can tell faculty, hey, we have these services. We've seen an increase in our ebooks for faculty members that teach online. When OER isn't the answer, we can say, hey, we have this simultaneous user ebook. Does that work for you? We've seen great growth in some of our other databases. So it's a value add for some things that we are already purchasing and kind of struggling to get use out of. Now that we're having more in-depth conversations with faculty, when OER isn't the answer, we can say, hey, maybe this is the answer. Maybe this library thing is the answer. So when I think about all the job titles in SUNY, right, all the job titles that librarians have, and there's some great ones, and I'm sure I've missed some, and I apologize to those that I've missed. And if you're outside of SUNY, some of these might make sense as well. So I can't suggest that roadmap, as I said, but I really think there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for just about every librarian in SUNY and CUNY and across the country to actively participate in and drive the conversation and really redefine the reality of what it means and what it feels like to be a college student, right? And when we focus in on and leverage our resources, whether we're a discovery librarian or a subject specialist or an outreach coordinator or a first-year experienced librarian, with open education resources, working with faculty, I really firmly believe we can change the experience for students. And we change that with purpose. We stay true to our core. We do it with passion. I think we're passionate individuals, and I think OER gives us a chance to be passionate about something really exciting and new again. And we do that with choices. And then when we do that, I really think we have the opportunity to do something great. That's all I got. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. So we actually have quite a few questions that have been coming in while you were speaking.
I will not answer any of them.
Seriously?
I'm just kidding. No, sorry.
Oh, no.
No.
So I don't think we'll be able to get to quite all of them. One, and they mark themselves as anonymous, they wanted the links that you had mentioned that are on your slides to pop up in the chat interface so they could take a look at them. And just a quick plug, because I got a chat from Stephen Bell. He did post the links to some of the things he mentioned in his presentation in the chat box earlier. So where there's a Q&A button, there's also a chat button.
I will do that.
Yep.
I'll post a link to my entire presentation, which has all the other links in the notes, so everybody can have them.
Okay, great. Thanks. Raymond Vasquez wanted to know if it was possible to get the OER evaluation rubric, which I think is one of the documents you mentioned.
Definitely.
Okay. And then actually, this is a particularly interesting question. Rajni Misra, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Are there any particular courses where OER doesn't work well according to faculty? Where maybe you've tried it and it just didn't take hold?
That I have not run across a faculty member who's tried OER and said, no, this didn't work. I have not had that experience in my presentation. What I have had is faculty who are eager to use OER. I'm thinking of early childhood education and nursing, where there just isn't quality material that they feel comfortable using. And that's been a tension point ongoing. And I know there's some great efforts nationally and within SUNY to kind of address some of those issues. But right now, it's the lack of resources in certain areas.
Okay, great, thanks. And one last quick question. I don't know how quickly you'll be able to answer this. This might be a offline kind of conversation, but Kim Myers wanted to know if you're not incentivizing, giving monetary incentives for developing OER courses, how are you taking part in the grant program, the SUNY grant program?
We are. Yep.
So how are you using that money to?
So SUNY has some grant money hanging out there, and every school that participates gets a baseline funding of $20,000. So we're using it in the three following ways. One, we're kind of backfilling or providing some adjunct support for the library staff because as librarians, myself and the other full-time systems librarian get more involved with faculty and using OER, we're not doing some other things. And so the administration recognized that, and so we're kind of backfilling by hiring part-time adjuncts. That's not sustainable. I'll be the first to admit that. I understand that. The other way we're spending money is offering faculty the chance that want to go to conferences to either learn about OER or train how to use OER. There's a pile of money that they can apply for. I have two math faculty who's going to the OpenStax kind of OER-a-thon in April. So that's kind of how we're using some of that money. And what we're also using the money to do is purchase print OER text for our reserve collection, and also for courses that are high enrollment that haven't yet gone to OER. We're kind of redesigning our reserve collection and going to purchase print copies of the books.
Okay, great, thanks. So there are a couple of other questions that have kind of popped up, so feel free to email Michael and sort of ask away. We're going to move on to our next presenter.